Hey, it's Tim, Pickup Truck Plus, HP Talk, joined by the 5-1-year-old Jill Ciminillo from Chicago. And we're talking trucks and production and Nissan, all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've got like this weird sun thing going on, so I keep trying to like move so that I don't have like dots on my face.
Yeah. You got some weird thing going on. It's like you went to Ash Wednesday or something. But in a weird,
Did I show a light?
light way. Yes. Very, very strange. All right. So, oh, yeah. Yeah. Lots of
So I'm just kind of, don't mind me as I fidget and try and find a spot that doesn't have like a dot on my head.
I agree. All right. I'm closing some windows. All right. Clarifying some stuff. All right. Sorry, I just had to slam a taco real fast. It's been one of those crazy days. Checking the beard. I think she had no food left
Actually,
over.
I'd be checking your teeth if I were you.
And looking there too. Yeah. Okay. Has Mind Stone glow.
I like it. Maybe, wait, there we go. I've got the Mind Stone glow going. Okay. Sorry.
All right. Back to serious matters here at Pickup Truck Plus HP Talk. No, I was just doing a quick TikTok thing uploading situation. So I was using my phone for that, plus I want to use the phone for the camera, and I was just multitasking like a son of a gun.
Dude, can't multitask.
I did it though. I got it done. It was done. It was good.
Oh, you were late.
I was not. We went live at the appropriate time.
We did not. It was like 30 seconds late, and I've got a bug. Sorry.
We were fine. We were on time in Nebraska time. We weren't. I wanted to talk about my latest conspiracy theory.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's so many conspiracy theories. I don't even know where to begin.
All right. So I got my keyboard. I'm trying to do. Let's see. I'll move this over here like this. All right. Do that there. Do that there. Okay. So let me do this. Boom. All right. On the website, which I got to blow this up because I did the screen too small. And we have, the Google vignette. Cuts up. All right. So then we have zoom in because I was doing a TikTok thingy. Where's the zoom in button? Zoom. Guess we're not zooming in today.
I'm like, it is not zooming.
It is not zooming. Why are you not zooming? Oh, my keyboard is going like absolute crazy. All right, my keyboard. I have a new Logitech keyboard, and all once in a while it loses Bluetooth connection. So GM Mexico truck plant shutdown gets extended. Uncertain future. Oh my gosh, what's going on? Cheeks, hands, cheeks, face. So this is actually a story I've been following quite a bit. You probably don't know the drama behind this, but I did a video last Thursday and I take it down because I had some facts were wrong. But I've been following the story quite a bit. And so I don't know if you have, you probably haven't because you've been traveling. But here's what's going on. So I found this fairly fascinating. So GM Silao plant is in Mexico, and they build the Silverado 1500 and Sierra 1500. My understanding of this plant is that they build the fleet trucks down there. That's my understanding of it. And they build the High Country and like the Denali and Denali Ultimates in Fort Wayne. And they also build some versions of the trucks in Flint Assembly. I'm not exactly clear which versions.
They also build some versions of the truck. I think it's Canada,
Oshawa,
and Mexico. I don't think they build anything in Flint.
Well, they have the heavy duties in Flint too.
Okay, the heavy duties, but not the 1500s.
I thought they had some 1500s up there. I don't know. Anyway, they have a plant in Oshawa as well. So they're all over the place. They have lots of trucks. Okay. And I don't know. My dad was with them for years, and him and I have talked about this off and on. And him and I have never really gotten down the bottom of like what terms they build where, what cabs they build where. And I've talked to some people online, and the forum people always have different understandings as well. Everybody's got their different plan. Everybody's got a different answer to this question. So I don't know. And GM doesn't really tell me. They're like mum's the word. But anyways, they build trucks in Silao. That's the bottom line. Jill, they build some GMC and Silverados in Chevrolets in Silao. That's what we know. So every year around the 4th of July, there is a typical 2-week shutdown. What they do a lot is they do like model year changeover. They do like maintenance on the machines. They give people a vacation time, the family, 4th of July stuff in the United States, stuff like that. And they do it in Slough as well. So it's very typical. No big deal. But then they also in Slough, they decided to give them 2 additional weeks off in August. So August 4th and the August 11th, according to Reuters. They give them additional 2 weeks off. So that's kind of interesting. That's very interesting. And according to the latest video I did like, I guess last week, or earlier, I don't know. I did a story. Trust me. GM's days on lot isn't very much. So they don't have a lot of buildup of trucks, according to that story. As far as GM's, the company's days on lots, we don't know what the truck inventory is, but according to that story, GM's days on lots are lower than the average for all the brands. So they don't have a lot of inventory, is what I'm trying to point out with this story. So that's not an overflow of inventory. So it's kind of funky. Now, GM told the media outlet Reuters that scheduled down weeks at GM Slough are part of a standard operating process focused on optimizing production at our manufacturing complex. What a BS.
I was like, blah, 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 whatever.
What a stupid quote. That quote means nothing. And I think I can zoom in one more time. There we go, 100%. So, it's a ridiculous quote. So you have additional shutdowns, which is unusual. This is very unusual. I haven't heard of additional shutdowns. The shutdowns happen in July. We all know this stuff. So, okay, that was a little interesting. And that's where the Reuters story ended. But you know me better than this. You know I'm going to put a bunch of other stuff together because that's how my brain works. So my brain's always firing this kind of stuff. So I did a little deeper stuff because this is how I think about stuff. So there's also news, and we knew about this a while ago, but autonews.com ran this huge headline today, which I thought was kind of ridiculous. That it was, I think it went 2 weeks ago, that GM announced a $4 billion they're going to spend. They're going to put money into the GM plant in upstate New York, which I tried to say the name of the plant. People made fun of me, which is fine. And one guy pointed out, he goes, just say New York, Tim. And I was like, okay, in New York State, they're putting money in this plant. They're going to build the next generation of the V8 engines. I'm taking his advice. They also have changed course in Orion assembly plant. Now, Orion is actually near where I grew up in Michigan, near Ortonville. It's actually, I think it's just west of there, or no, east of there. And Ortonville's west. So I always call it Lake Orion because it's the lake nearby, but Orion assembly plant. It's interesting because they were going to spend $4 billion at just the Orion assembly plant. And they were going to put a bunch of workers there and build the next generation EVs there. And then that completely changed course over the past 2 years. That plan never
3 months.
So that plan never took off. They never finalized that plan, never hired those workers back, never did any of that stuff. And then they decided to bring in the GMC Sierra 1500, the Chevy Silverado 1500, and the Cadillac Escalade to be built in that plant in Orion, Michigan by 2027. They call it an overflow facility to build more of these things. Now, my suspicion is if they're already going to do electric vehicles there and already have some of the idea there, maybe they're doing the plug-in hybrid versions of those vehicles they had talked about. Remember, we talked about this stuff, plug-in hybrid, Silverado Sierra. Maybe, I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen with that? So we know they're going to build more trucks and SUV and full-size SUVs. The Escalade is basically a Sierra with a topper kind of deal. Anyways, so we have Mexico slowing down, and who knows, 2 weeks is not a big deal, but maybe it is. Precursor. We have Lake Orion going in, or I'm always saying it wrong. Orion assembly plant going in operation by 2027 to build more trucks and SUVs. And then we have the really interesting thing I learned in the last couple of weeks, which I didn't know about, and this blew my mind a little bit as well. There's labor disputes and tariffs going on in addition. So as of 3 days ago, President Trump announced that he was putting a 30% tariff on Mexican-made goods coming to the United States, taking effect August 1st. What we don't know is whether that impacts automotive parts and vehicles. So I took down my video I did last Thursday because I got this piece wrong, because currently he exempted automotive parts and vehicles from tariffs. But we don't know yet because he hasn't made any whitehouse.gov. I haven't seen anything yet, and it seems these announcements come out of whatever. Here we go. We're announcing this tomorrow. So, okay. So we don't know that piece of it, so that's going to change. We know it's going to change. And then, well, I also didn't know this, is that the Mexican labor unions have been very active in recent months to improve the wages. Apparently, the Mexican government was very much getting involved in labor unions, and they were keeping the wages down because they want to become the fourth largest nation in the world producing vehicles. So they want lower wages to encourage automakers to be there. So the Mexican labor unions finally fought off the Mexican government, broke free, and they created bigger wages. Because apparently, in the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement, the USMCA, the one that Trump negotiated the first time, we called it NAFTA. He renamed it because he thought it was better than NAFTA. Which, I don't know, USMCA, I kind of like NAFTA. NAFTA is easy for me to say.
Yeah.
But he renamed it. That took effect on, it was supposed to increase wages on January 1st, 2025. The worker is supposed to make $278.80 per hour. Now, that's Mexican money. That translates into $13.76 in US dollars. That's how much Mexican dollars a difference. For most of Mexico, there's a special northern border free zone, which they were supposed to make basically $20. So most of Mexican auto workers are supposed to make $13. Most of the northern border free zone, $20. I did double check, and the Silao, Mexico plant is not part of the northern border free zone. And I made sure I put that in the story. So this spring, 2025, GM Mexico workers at the plant in Silao, which I probably you need to negotiate a little bit, they won a pay increase on April 17th, raising the highest paid employees to $7 an hour in April. That was a record wage increase. They were supposed to be already at $13 an hour. They're not even close. The union down there, one of the unions was trying to get voted in. They lost. Then the one of the plants I've been following, they lost the vote. They were saying they were trying to get the Mexican workers to a point in 5 years to the USMCA agreement to get people out of poverty. The workers there were making $3 an hour. That is below the poverty level in Mexico. Those people were taking a bus for an hour and a half to get to work, make $3 an hour, and taking the bus ride home. They didn't have enough time to look for a secondary job. And when they won this pay increase at this plant, GM raised wages at a plant nearby, hoping that they wouldn't strike at the plant nearby so they can keep the wages down. Is the way the union says it. Now, I'm sure GM would say, scheduled down weeks at GM Silao are part of a standard operating process focused on optimizing production at our manufacturing complex, right? So this has been very fascinating to me. So I did the whole thing, Arctic kind of deal. So you have a situation here where you have a slowdown in production in GM Silao plant, or scheduled downtime, more scheduled downtime. You have increased wages that just basically occurred a couple months ago. You have labor unions fighting for better wages. Then you have the August 1st boom tariffs going in that GM doesn't know what's going to happen as far as what's going to get impacted because we don't know what that number is at the moment. And then you have Orion Assembly Plant news. For a kid, when I grew up,
I've always said Orion. Is it Orion?
It's Orion. Yeah, I always called it Orion. When I grew up, it was always Orion. I don't know. As a kid,
you are from Michigan.
Yeah, so that's what I had. So I have all these new. So it's a really interesting conspiracy theory in my head of what's going on with GM at this plant.
Okay, so what's your conspiracy theory? Right now, you've just laid out a whole bunch of facts.
I know. My conspiracy theory is that GM is going to start pulling the plug from Mexico's production there because the increase in wages. And they're going to start reducing the assembly there in Mexico because increase in wages. And they're going to start shuffling stuff around.
Well, I mean, that's certainly part of it. But I think the bigger part is going to be tariffs and, bringing stuff back to the U.S. so that GM can make more money.
Yeah, I think they've made record profits. And they've made record profits off of the Mexican labor. And I think Mexican labor is going to screw themselves over by increase the wages. But the Mexican labor needs to increase their wages because there are people living in poverty.
Right.
So but then here's the other part of that. So what happens then with truck prices? So
well,
truck
until
prices
2027. So, like, here's what I took away from the story is
okay.
if we bring stuff back to the United States, it's not going to be operational until 2027. So there's like a year and a half period of time that you are going to have increased prices if you are having production done in Mexico. So, I mean, this speaks to the whole fact that manufacturing changes can't happen overnight. They can't happen overnight. So, if they're trying to bring stuff back to the United States, which is what President Trump wants, which brings in my mind up a whole nother problem because people don't want these jobs.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like in Michigan, I've talked to my friends in assembly lines up in Flint Assembly, for example. They have a hell of a time filling their jobs. So it's going to be really interesting. So I don't know. I think it's just going to be fascinating. I think I have a big box of popcorn behind me, big bowl, and I'm going to keep reporting on it because what I think is getting missed in this whole news cycle is we talk about tariffs and moving jobs back, and we all want more jobs in America. We all want this stuff, and then we have people going off Medicaid, which I think is a good idea. I mean, we have too many people on Medicaid for sure, and we need more people at work for sure. But I think what's getting lost in this is we're not looking at what's happening in Mexico, and that's what I wanted to make that video be about. And unfortunately, I had my facts wrong about the tariffs and what's going on there. But I want to know what's going on in Mexico because I think we need to have a conversation about what's happening in Mexico. And when you look at the video, if I could, maybe I should re-edit it and post it. It's really fascinating the way that Mexico automotive PR people view themselves. They look at Mexico as part of a North American production group. They look at EV battery production. They have a map from Canada through the bottom part of Mexico. They see themselves as partners for all this kind of stuff. They see themselves as being the place to go for manufacturing. They see themselves as the future. They see themselves as the partner in the United States. And it's really fascinating.
Well, and it is interesting because in addition to people not wanting manufacturing jobs, the other part, and I've got my little dot back, the other part of the
hold on. Is the dot hot? Is it like burning a hole in your skull as you get?
But the other part of the problem is that like battery plants. I just listened to, and I can't even remember what podcast it was, but they were trying to build a battery plant somewhere in Michigan to bring like 2,000 jobs to the area. And everybody was like, we don't want this toxic thing that's bad for the environment in our backyard. And so that's the other thing that's going on is, okay, yeah, we want to build batteries in North America or in the United States, but where are you going to put it? Because nobody wants this toxic stuff in their backyard, poisoning their water, poisoning their air. Yeah. The jobs sound great and the idea is great, but where are you putting it?
Oh yeah, I mean nobody we have I can kind of look outside my house here in a little angle, and there's the city dump is right by the golf course and right by my housing. Well, when they put the dump in place, there was no housing here. Then the city grew up around the housing. Oh, there you go. Oh, yeah. There
I'm going to start turning.
So if you're listening to the podcast, Jill has moved. Jill's slowly moving her desk and her chair for the light to move it off her forehead. But now they need to move the dump, and nobody wants it. Nobody wants a dump, and it's this whole argument. So, and here's the other interesting thing. Ford had a recall last week, 835,000 vehicles for bad fuel pumps. Okay.
Yeah.
But what was fascinating to me about the story, and I actually recorded the video twice, because as I read through the chronology report, which I think you've read through these a little bit, maybe with me in the past, whatever. I love these things. These chronology reports are fascinating. It's like a murder mystery, like what really happened. Well, basically what they figured out in a nutshell is this: is that they have a fuel pump. Inside the fuel pump are these jets that let the fuel go push in or whatever. I'm totally butchering this. You guys are gonna kill me in the comments. A long day. I know. I should say this stuff more. I'm not a mechanic. I get it. You're gonna kill me. Anyways, Ford has this fuel pump. They have a tier 2 supplier. So there's different tier suppliers. Think like 1, 2, 3, as far as I know. I don't think there's tier 4. Maybe there is, but a tier 1, 2, 3. So the tier 2 supplier builds this fuel pump. It goes in vehicles. They start having these warranty claims come in where they have like condensation buildup in these fuel pumps and things are sputtering out. Vehicles are dying on the road. They're not getting enough fuel. And they start looking at the what's going on. They figure out there's a flaw, a little bit of flaw with the fuel pump. They make some adjustments. They also go down to the tier 2 supplier in Mexico, and they find out how they can produce the fuel pumps a little bit better quality when they build them. So they can find out ways to improve the manufacturing process. It's cool. They do an investigation. They have new fuel pumps coming out of other part suppliers. Man, problem solved. No big deal. Pat stuff on the back of your back. You're done. They go for a while. There's no warranty claims. And then the NHTSA, the Office of Defects, gets involved. Now, these guys, what they do is they start getting emails from customers and going, hey, there's customers have problems. Well, they end up getting six emails from consumers saying, my fuel pump died, whatever. And you would think this would be, you'd get 100 or 2,000, whatever. No, they had 6. And the Office of Defects said, hey, we want to talk more about this. So they go to Ford and they said, Ford, you'd look into this. But, we had 6 emails. And maybe it was a Friday afternoon at 2. They had 6 emails immediately. Like, what the hell? All of a sudden it blew up for them. That's how microscopic we're at this level. 6 emails creates a federal investigation. And I'm like, wow, I thought you'd have to have 1,000. The threshold would be higher, was my thought process there. Anyways, they go to Ford. Ford goes, okay, we'll look into this. They look into it. They have like 2,000 warranty claims. And they're like, what the hell's going on with this? So they start talking to the tier 2 supplier. Tier 2 supplier hasn't changed anything. What the frick is going on? They start investigating. They find more claims. They find more warranty claims. And warranty claims, they're warranting this part. They're giving a new one for free. And they're like, why are we constantly having these problems? Well, it turns out the tier 3 supplier was building a part that goes inside the fuel pump itself. It's the jet assembly. So they build a part that goes inside the part. Well, the tier 3 supplier basically couldn't build the part to Ford specification. It was too complex. So they said, screw it. We'll build the best we can. Threw it in there. Said tier 2 supplier. Tier 2 supplier goes, yep, looks pretty good. Sends it off. Ford has no idea what's going on. They're oblivious to this stuff. And they're like, all of a sudden, the feds are like, you got to do something. And so they're like, okay, all right. So Ford's like, all right, we got to do something. So like, all right, we'll recall them all. And then they said, wait, if we recall all these, how do we fix them?
Yeah, you gotta create a whole new fuel pump or something.
Right.
Yeah, how do you fix it?
Right, because the supplier literally can't build the fuel pump that the engineer designed. So the engineers have to go back and figure out a way to redesign this fuel pump that works with all these vehicles. I'm talking like it's like you got Mustangs, F-150s, and you got Super Duties. You got a variety of different vehicles that have different applications and different needs, and they have to do cold climates and warm climate. Because the problem was it was warm climates. They started realizing it was warm climates during the summer. We're getting lots of condensation, humidity, and the fuel pumps were not working correctly. So they had to recreate that problem, identify what really was going on, make some adjustment to it engineering-wise, had to go through the whole testing process again, which if you read the chronology report, that's literally 6 to 9 months of work. 6 to 9 months of work before they can produce those parts in mass and ship out a new fuel pump at the very minimum. And so you're going to get a letter in the mail that says your vehicle's under recall. We will let you know when we figure our shit out.
As my husband would say, don't hold your breath.
Yeah. And then people, so I did this video, and people on TikTok were like, "That's why you shouldn't use Mexican suppliers." And I'm like, "Well, let me tell you the story about Delphi. Delphi was a GM supplier. They were in Michigan. I grew up around the area with Delphi. Delphi made these amazing GM electrical connectors. They were amazing, best of the bunch. They used UAW labor. GM was a big supplier of theirs. GM went through bankruptcy because they paid too much for electrical suppliers, a bunch on top of a bunch of other problems they had. So they got out of the Delphi contract. They went overseas. They bought cheaper parts because they had to, because they were forced to do something. And then Delphi went through bankruptcy. You know why? Nobody could afford Delphi's expensive electrical connectors. So it's like, if you want a truck that lasts for a million miles and never rusts, never breaks down, never needs a fix, everything's perfect. You want the engineer to do everything right for this thing, and no bean counters, whatever. It'd be great. You would have a $500,000 truck that nobody would buy, because the other part of the business is it's a business. You have to have a price point people want to buy. So it's like you have this constant push and pull between the automakers wants to make profit, and you have to keep costs down. But if you cut costs too much, you have warranty claims. You have vehicles known as being junk, and then you have people don't buy it. It's just constant back and forth. And so that's what happens with these U.S.-made parts and things. That's why people go on overseas to cut down costs. And then you have these recalls that frustrate consumers because you can't get the parts because Ford doesn't know how to build these parts because the supplier can't keep up with the design.
Yeah.
So
it's catch-22.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's frustrating. And so and Bob says, see the newfangled technology causes problems. You go back to days before fuel pumps. Oh no, I'm not going back to those days. I did direct injection in my 62 C10 because he had a carburetor, and I don't want to go backwards. I don't want to mess with carburetors. I did a video, somebody said we need to go back to those manual windows, roll up windows. They were so reliable. And my uncle and I were sitting around, and my uncle and my mechanic friends were sitting around talking about this days before, making jokes about how terrible they were. You hit a speed bump just wrong, and the windows down would come off the track, and you had to pull over and take the screws out, put it back in the track, and you'd roll it, and all of a sudden it'd fall off the hinge. It just, oh my gosh. I think people look back at the past with rose-colored glasses. It's just like,
everything was awesome.
Yeah, and so I don't know what the answer is, but I'm telling you, that's the way things are currently. It is just, it's crazy. Yeah, and then yes, so Big Billy about exploiting people, poor people overseas. Yeah, that's why I was thinking that the wages, I did, and I don't know if you knew that, Jill, about the USMCA and the wage increases Mexican workers. Mm-hmm. I had no idea that was part of the agreement. I was blown away.
Yeah. But I mean, here's the thing. Okay, they make $20 an hour. That's still probably $80 to $150 less than what the Americans are making per hour.
Yeah, the Mexican labor union did point out, though, they said it's less than what the Americans are making per hour, but the cost of living, if you factor in the cost of living differences, that's actually on par with what Americans are making in Mexican dollars, in Mexican cost of living.
Wait, $7 is, or the $20 is?
The $20 is.
Yeah, but my point is this. Okay, raise it to 20. Their cost of living goes up. We're not paying that much more. Like, I don't understand why American automakers are dragging their feet here.
I don't either. But that's the way I've read the stories. And the thing is, I grew up with UAW friends. I still have friends in UAW in Michigan. I love the UAW. People want to bag on those guys all the time. I'm friends with those guys. They have their point of view. They have what they say. They definitely have their point of view. Sometimes I agree with them. Sometimes I don't agree with them. But they do have a point of view and a definite viewpoint on things. And they are right. Automakers are making more profit, and they should share the profits. I do find that automakers are spending more money on capital investments. We're seeing these new battery plants are now super expensive to build. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. But it is interesting. I remember doing a thing with the Boeing paint facility in Seattle, Washington, mm-hmm. and the guys who painted planes, the 737s and the 747, whatever those big numbers of planes, the 777 stuff, they're making $100 an hour. And it's like, and we're having a discussion right now about whether trucks have gotten more expensive or if people's wages have stagnated. But in certain places, like Chris Callahan says, his works in paper mill, and some of the guys are making $40 to $50 an hour. In certain places, wages have gotten up, and other places, wages have gone down. Blew my mind to pay that much to make paper. Yeah. And then Bob says the point is that Ford managed to make its fuel pumps too complicated. It is. It does frustrate me, and I know it's because some engineer got super excited about his fuel pump design and wanted to create it, but never did the common sense thing to figure out if a supplier could actually make it. I know a lot of engineers, and I like a lot of engineers, but engineers don't always have common sense. I'll just say it like that. So I don't know. I've done a lot more TikToks lately and short form stuff, and I've been blown away by the response to some videos. I've been blown away by some people's viewpoints on things.
People are very vocal. They're very vocal.
And I don't. So you have your YouTube channel. You have this YouTube channel you work on. You have your TikTok. I feel like the YouTube audience is a whole different audience. Like I'm surprised. I didn't know they existed like in a different way so much. It's so bizarre.
Well, I found that actually. So the YouTube audiences are much more American or North American centric, whereas TikTok is much more global. And so I get like a lot of like Europeans and people from like Saudi Arabia, like that comment on my things.
Yeah, it is strange. All right, I want to get to two real fast things. I haven't read this up yet, but I want to. I want to applaud this guy, and I want to say I just like the story. So this gentleman was coming back from coming to church, and outside was a gentleman having a mental health breakdown.
Yes, I heard this story.
Yeah, I'm calling. So I'm going to call it like this: a mental health breakdown. Unfortunately, that's the way I'm going to call it. This guy drove back. He's a deacon in his church, and the leadership took a really crappy photo, which boo on them. Really had a focus story of a photo of this guy. This guy is a hero. Had no weapon with him. He saw a guy out front with the gun vest on, a rifle, guns, whatever. He was going to commit a mass murder inside the church. And this dude drove over him with a truck, hit him with his truck, knocked him down, and he took some shots into his truck. The guy shot his truck. He jumped out. He survived. He says, I'm just realizing there was no time. I didn't have a weapon on me in the truck or anything. So what are your options? And so he prevented a large-scale mass shooting, and it left them in a way that there was no way to drive the truck for several weeks because the truck was just bullet holes. It literally used the truck as a weapon. And so the local dealership replaced his pickup for free. And he got a free truck out of it. And I think that was such a cool story that I just thought what a great story. And I really want to tell this story 1,000 ways. And I'm just looking at this photo thinking, darn you guys, take a photo in focus. But yeah.
Photo.
Yeah. Yeah. What a hero. I mean, look at that. What do you have? What are your options? You could see this guy. He's got the gun vest. He's got guns. He's looking at the church, and so I think he hit him, and he took some bullets in the truck, and then the church, I believe, had a security team detail there, whatever, and the security team took the guy down or whatever, and he didn't survive. But yeah, what a deal. That guy, yeah, what a hero. Okay, I think Gene is concerned about you having enough money to live.
I know Tim does need to pay me more. I'm getting gaunt. I can't eat. I don't have enough money to eat.
Yeah, no, Jill's fine.
I mean, thankfully I'm married. Otherwise, I'd be starving.
Well, you eat like a bird, so.
Who are you? You've seen me eat. I do not eat like a bird.
Okay, let's move on to our friends at Nissan because, oh my goodness, the news gets interesting. So, the first piece of news is this actually might be brilliant. Nissan might build rebadged Honda pickups. Yes, that we're going with. I screwed this up earlier. For two reasons. First of all, to avoid tariffs, because they're going to build them in the Canton, Mississippi plant, and they're going to rebadge Nissan Frontiers as Honda pickups. So Honda would actually have a body on frame truck to sell. The Canton, Mississippi plant is underutilized. Nissan's not using it because their sales are, well, what's a good way to put this? They suck. So they need the capacity to make some revenue off this stuff. So I imagine that Nissan will build these, put Honda badges on them, do different things with them for interior wise, different paint jobs, whatever, and then they would sell those back to Honda for a discounted rate. Honda would sell those, and so Nissan would make some revenue off this stuff. And then because the trucks are built in Mississippi, they would not be tariffed. So it's kind of a win-win both ways. This is the kind of a byproduct of the failed merger, and Nissan and Honda are still talking. So, hey, that's something that Nissan can make some money at, because Nissan needs to make some freaking money. Because also in the news, they closed their, what do you think, Jill? Opama? Let me see. Let me share the screen. I'm not sharing it right. Let me share. Let me remove this. I got to share the screen. Stop sharing. I shared the wrong thing. I got to share the whole tab. Share window. No, share Chrome tab. Share window.
I mean, this is fun to watch, though.
Yes. Okay. Opama.
I would say like Opama.
Opama. So it's their oldest plant. It's actually their I don't say oldest. It's their flagship factory to cut costs, moving all production to their Kyushu plant. So they're closing one of their marquee plants to keep in operation, and it's part of their overall plan. I think the head guy had some quote how he was just sad about this. It's part of their plan to slash about 50% of their global workforce, or about 20,000 employees. Includes a 9,000 headcount reduction announced late last year, including China. It says the tariff policies of President Donald Trump have hurt its bottom line as well, including and they actually closed down some plants in Mexico building Infinities. I think I saw some news that they stopped shipping some models to Canada because of some of the tariffs happening up there as well. It has been racking up losses, hurt by slipping vehicle sales in China, huge restructuring costs, and ballooning inventories. Reducing the number of auto plants from 10 from 17. Racked up a loss of 670.9 billion yen, or $4.5 billion for fiscal year through March, down from 426 billion yen profit recorded in the previous fiscal year. Its chief executive officer took up the post in April and was set to speak to reporters later Tuesday. He replaced another guy who stepped down to take responsibility for faltering results. I mean, I think the entire executive team is taking no pay right now. As last one I heard as well, they just decided they're just not taking any money. So, yeah.
Here's the thing. I think Nissan made some tactical errors. They're paying for them, but they make a good product, and I think this is something they could come back from.
Yeah, I don't think
they need somebody to come in and fix their tactical errors.
This is a combination of errors. You're right. They've made some bad choices. They are making, I think, some right choices. They canceled some EVs. The Titan.
Well, they didn't cancel the EVs. They pushed them back a little bit.
Oh yeah, they pushed them back. Yeah, they pushed them back. They're making a lot of changes, I should say.
But here's the thing: like, the rest of the world is going all in on EVs.
Yeah.
And even though America isn't, we're an aberration. And I feel like we are going to eventually get left behind. Controversial, I know. But if we don't keep up with China in terms of technology, I mean, we're going to be screwed.
Yeah. So and Nissan's losing their butts in China too. So
well, everybody's losing their butts in China because China has essentially closed out all foreign automakers.
Yeah.
And then they're going to start pushing their EVs out to Europe and Japan and the rest of the world, except for America. And they are going to, I mean, I don't know. I'm just very concerned about are back to combustion engine all in on that strategy. Like, I don't think the ICE engine should go away. That's not what I'm saying, but I feel like we are we need to continue innovating, and if we don't, I think we're going to be in deep doo-doo. And so I don't think Nissan is canceling their EVs. They're just refocusing, and they'll probably send them to Europe first before bringing them here. But they need to do things for the American market that makes sense here. And I think that's what they're thinking through is, we're a very big market. What makes sense here? And building a pickup truck, like, a rebadged Honda is going to make sense.
And I'm surprised the Frontier is not selling better. There's a lot of fans who want a V6, and I was looking at the last sales results and things, and it's not selling that well. It really is not selling as well as it should have. I think the prior generation actually sold better. I think they raised the price point a little bit too high in that and swung for the Tacoma, and they just didn't hit it. It just didn't do that well. I don't know. A few other comments. Dodge Dakota. Yeah, Dodge is doing. I don't know if we call it a Dodge. It won't be a Dodge. It'll be called a Ram. I don't know if they call it Dakota. They're doing something. It will happen. There was a report that came out. Yep, Illinois. There's a report that came out that said there's going to be body on frame, which I made headlines. People were sharing it in my Facebook and stuff, and I was like, "How was that not already news?"
Well, so
I thought it was.
I mean, so there's been a couple of reports going out. So I think the Rampage that's built down in Brazil is unibody. And so that was one theory, is that they would bring the Rampage up to the United States. But the other theory is that they will do something completely new and different, which is body on frame. And so I feel like there's competing reports of what they're saying it could be. And so I think that was what was coming out today. It was like, ooh, no, it's going to be body on frame. And I mean, you and I had assumed all along that's probably what it was going to be, or that there could be two trucks, a competitor to the Maverick and, a Dakota replacement.
It was interesting because Tim Kuniskis, the Ram CEO, talked about how they talked about doing a Ford Maverick basically for years. And they've kicked it around. He said it's kicked around like 100 times. Mm-hmm. I just don't think Ram has the capacity or the financial standing right now. They can't launch two right now. I don't think they have the money. I think they can do one. They have the plant to do one. They're going to build the Cherokee. They need to bring the Cherokee back because they need a entry-level, mid-size. They need an entry-level compact Jeep. They need something for Jeep brand to sell, and they can build that same Jeep Cherokee in the same plant with the Ram Dakota. It's a perfect solution. They can build both there. They told the UAW they're going to build it there. They made it part of the plans. It just makes sense. But a unibody,
the Cherokee is not body on frame.
It's not.
So would it make more sense to do a unibody Rampage on the same line as the Cherokee?
It would, but I don't think they can build an. I don't think that plant. Let me say it differently. I don't think the market is big enough to handle a full plant for Jeep Cherokee. I think that's split different ways. And I've seen plants build unibody and body and frame side by side. It can be done. It's not as efficient. But think about this too. The Ford Maverick is built in Mexico. And Ram has expanded their plant, and I believe, isn't it Slough as well? Doesn't Ram plant in Slough? Somebody's going to correct me in the comments. I believe it's Slough as well. Anyways, they expanded some production facility down there to build over more Ram 1500s down there, not the unibody vehicles. You look at Slough.
I'm like, I'm just going to Google that.
Yeah. She's good about that. So I think that's going to be
Saltillo.
God darn it. So
similar but not the same.
Tequila. So I think I'm close.
Saltillo.
So yeah. What about the Dodge 1200 is more in line of what I think the Ram Dakota is going to be. So the Dodge 1200 is basically a smaller version of the Ram 1500. The thing I think the thing that Dwayne's pointing out, which is a really good thing to point out, is he's not doing U.S. Because Ram's global now, and they have vehicles sold globally. So if you look at globally, they'll probably bring some idea around that, but it'll be built for the U.S. market. I actually did a video, and I didn't publish it. I don't know. I was kind of cranky that day. Everybody talks about this Land Cruiser FJ45s, these pickups we sold globally. They should bring them to the United States, and I'm like, I love these things. I've driven these things. They will never be in the United States because they're terrible. They're not safe. They ride like crap. They're not fuel efficient. The engines are awful. Because people are like, somebody said, if Toyota diesels came over here, Ram and GM and Ford would be done. Game over. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you literally talking about? Because I've driven them. Are they reliable? Yeah. Because they haven't changed very much. And you know what? They're great in third world countries. But they do not. Yeah, here we go. Need to bring the diesel Hilux to the United States. Right here. T saying it. Have you driven it? Ask me if you tell me you've driven it. I've driven it. It's slow. It's not great. It revs. It's not a great. It's reliable. I will give you that because it hasn't changed in like 30 years. And Toyota, by the way, Toyota doesn't like it either. They don't want to bring it. They're looking at getting rid of it globally. And I've driven that vehicles with those engines in them, and it is just like, come on, let's go. The American buyer would never go for it. That's what I'm trying to say. No, yeah. Oh, the little
in theory, but not in practice.
Okay, JT Beach Guy. Have you ever? I don't know how many classic truck shows you go to. Probably none. So
Not
there's.
truck, but classic car, yeah.
Have you ever seen the Little Red pickup?
No.
Little Red Express. All right, I see this thing. There's a guy in town who's got a couple. He's got at least one of these things, and I see it occasionally. It's fun, so I'm gonna share my screen with you. It's this guy. So it was cute. It had dual stacks on the sides. It had a little box. It's shorter. It's probably it's the height of the old 1990s two-wheel drive trucks. It was a regular cab, short box. It's a Dodge Little Express. What was it? What did they say? What's the year? Was it 1970?
So it's 1979.
79, yeah. So yeah, people love this little thing with a Hellcat.
Hellcat, all the things.
I think honestly we're going back to Hellcat days. So that's the other thing going on. The defanging of cafe is going to be really interesting. I've gotten some conversations with some of my friends about that. This journalist friends about, do we go back to everything V8s and supercharged V8s and screw fuel economy? And I'm like, I think the truck buyer now wants fuel economy. I think that last week we had 4 Ram RHO guys get together. 3 of us, on the other guy, and we were talking about this. Like, the RHO is a lot of fun, and the TRX is a lot of fun, as Jill's driven that as well. We don't miss the fuel economy hit from the TRX.
No, I think I was getting 8 miles per gallon.
Did
when
you get 8 that one time? I was going to ask you that. Yeah.
And
people love this idea. Yeah, like people love the idea of a Hellcat with this and Hellcat with that, but you pass everything except for the gas station.
Premium fuel. So 8 miles per gallon with the really expensive gas.
Yeah. Well, and have you driven the Oh, T has got fighting words. He says, I have a 2025 Tundra Limited iForce Max, level way more than my 2020 V8 I had. Ooh. Them's fighting words on this truck channels. Did you drive
my question to T is why? Why does he love it more?
Okay. Did you drive the Jeep Wrangler 392?
Yeah. Remember, that was the one that I had to climb on the hood and sit on in order to shut it, because I didn't realize you had to latch it and I didn't have enough torque.
I almost think that thing was almost undrivable at times. When you got on it, the rear end, the short wheelbase, that big engine in there, at times is almost undrivable.
Well, you're not supposed to get on it.
I didn't do it, but so anyways, I don't know. Just ugh. Anyways, I think that's about enough for tonight. I'm running out of steam, I can tell. I had to
And my
sign my
husband
dinner
did just get home with dinner, so
and you can smell dinner, right? So we got the light off, Jill. So that was my kind of thoughts tonight. Was I just the conspiracy theories of the GM stuff moving production back to the United States from Mexico, from Silao, not Saltillo, which is Ram's thing. And well, Nissan survival this. I think Nissan, like Jill's pointed out, will survive it. They have a lot of headwinds in front of them though, and it's gonna be a couple of years before they get things turned around. Oh, and T's response. The powertrain delivery is buttery smooth. It makes a ton of power lower in the RPM band. Yep. The monster of towing. The 5.7 liter would rev up quite high and shift gears constantly. Yeah, so I think that's what Tim Kniska said. You want the V8 if you're counting cylinders and you like the exhaust note. And all other aspects, 6 cylinders with turbos, do a lot better job for many, many reasons. So there you go. That's the thoughts. That's what we got for you tonight on this live stream. So hey, check us out on the website at pickuptrucktalk.com. Also on the TikToks and the social medias and all stuff we have to do these days to make the moolah, the Chinese money. That's what we're doing these days. Jill's got an Instagram channel as well, and Instagram and TikTok and
YouTube.
Facebook.
I've got all the things.
All the things. And she's got a YouTube channel. We got all sorts of stuff going on. So make sure you follow us over there. As always, thanks for watching. We will see you down the road.